So welcome everybody. This is a special added film component of our beautiful Oakland Breastfeeding Festival. We're actually recording it ahead of time because my beautiful guest is in Australia. And we magically hooked it up so that we can have this conversation and present it to you for our event that's going to be happening Sunday of this week. So exciting. Zoom is such a fun toy. And I would like to introduce Maha Musa, who is a wonderful birth worker, dancer, trainer, mama. And I'd like her to introduce herself, and then we will move into our conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Samsara. We have finally met. I'm so happy. Yeah. And I was saying to Samsara, I was actually in America in 2013 and 2015 speaking at a couple of birth conferences, and I really loved it. So I am Maha Musa, and I am the founder of Embody Birth and Belly Dance Birth since 1997. So I'm in my 25th year now as the founder of this beautiful, sacred childbirth education program. And I'm of Palestinian, Lebanese, a bit of Egyptian and Indian background, but I grew up in Australia. I came to Australia when I was 2. I was kidnapped from my mum as a 6-month-old by my dad and brought to Australia without my mum. I was at boarding school at 4 years of age and didn't have a mother for 7 years, the first 7 years of my life. So that really set the scene for me to see the work that I do in keeping mothers and babies together. And, you know, it's often when we reflect back on our life that we realize why we do what we do. And now I really do know that on an embodied level, that I do this work because of my childhood history and how important it is in the way we are birthed and the way we are looked after in those first years of life. So it really does have an impact and an imprint on who we become. And I've had 3 beautiful children, all born as nature intended. My sons are 21 and 24, and I have a beautiful daughter who is 12, Amina, and she was born at home when I was 46 years of age. And I breastfed her for 8.5 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. So here we are talking about breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share my personal experience with everybody because I was in the worldwide media, and this was from 2012 to 2016, really before anybody was standing up for, you know, advocating for breastfeeding, and especially natural term breastfeeding, meaning when the child decides to wean. And whether that be 6 months, 6 years, 8 years, 9 years, that is a decision that is made between a mother and her baby, her child, and our circumstances and our beliefs and our personal understandings and, our informed education and all of those things. And because I'd been a birth worker for many years when my daughter was born, I learnt about natural term breastfeeding. And because I had my daughter at a late age and it was a conscious conception, conscious pregnancy, conscious birth, I wanted to do the conscious breastfeeding and just see who would this child become when everything was flowing from a physiological mammalian template or blueprint. How would my child be in the world with these experiences? So she sounds like she was a scientific experiment, but I just wanted to be able to flow from A to Z without any interference and just, give her that freedom to be whatever she was meant to be. And she had no intervention whatsoever through birth and post-birth, etc. So, and she's an amazing,
I'm so excited for your daughter. Me too. As you're speaking, I find myself feeling emotional because that's something that's so lost in this world, that we are so far from our humanity.
That's it.
And it's reflected in the strife between people and the issues that we have, issues with children's brain development and on and on and on. Children's emotions as they grow to adulthood and not being able to manage the big emotions of being a human being. And I really do believe, and in science even supports, how breastfeeding supports all of that. Strong immune system, strong brains, good digestion, all those things. And we know our digestive system is our immune system.
That's it.
Right. So a child born without that support, and so many little ones, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, but it's too many children are just being given the formula right away and not even having a moment of it's not a fad, or, or a fashion statement. It is something that is a gift to little humans to help them grow up to be healthy and strong. So I'm so happy for your daughter. Thank you for doing
that. That's what I was saying in the media was, human milk for a human baby. How can that be controversial? That is as nature intends, where we can. And I think sometimes the default position is often what's not possible or where we can't do something. And that becomes the default rather than what is biologically imperative for mother and child being the default. So where we are lacking, I think, on a societal global level is that we don't value the experience of the mother and baby, or the person giving birth and baby. We're not valuing that voice that is sovereign and autonomous in that journey and that experience, because we have a default of actually sickness or not being well or not being healthy. That's right. So my work and my teachings and my lived experience is always about what is possible. What is the most healthy thing that I can do that Mother Nature has given to me? So how do I stay in my sovereignty and in my inner voice knowing? How do I connect to that and listen to her? And I think that if we can support wherever possible physiological birth for those who want to walk that path is just as valid as any other pathway for birthing and then feeding our children. But we don't support and value the physiological pathway because there's no money in that. Let's just get
exactly right. Exactly. There's no product connected with it.
Yes.
That can be sold. Yes, that's exactly the thing. You were mentioning that you were in the media. What was that about?
So basically it started, actually, there was a beautiful lady, Jamie, on the Time magazine. You may remember that. She was feeding her child. He was standing on a stool.
Yes.
And he was 3.5. And funnily enough, Amina was 3.5 at the same time. And I had written online on an Australian news site, wow, fantastic. My daughter's 3.5. I'm actually 48. And, I'm breastfeeding, I was 49 at the time, and I'm breastfeeding her. Good on this, mum. This is normal. This is natural. This is another pathway that should be available to all women. And that was in 2012. And then the phone rang, the emails came. Everybody started asking me for my story. So I just sort of went down this river of sharing my breastfeeding experience with my daughter Amina. And so for 4 years I was on CNN, I was on Discovery Channel documentary, I was on Australian Women's Day, lots of TV shows in Australia and overseas. Our story went viral twice. But what I saw was the media is always looking for that sensational headline, that way of cutting your voice as a woman, that way of diminishing who you are to the world and using your story in a way that's not truthful. So I stood my ground because I'm very strong. And because I work in birthing, I stood very strong in my knowing and to say to them, no, that's not, for example, how I feed her. Go and stand under that tree, in a silly position and feed her so we can get some photos of you. And I'd say, that's not how I feed my daughter. She just comes and sits next to me while I'm talking to you and I just feed her. And it's a very natural, very calm, very non-sensational experience of connection and attachment. Just like I might go and make her a sandwich, or you may pour your child a glass of milk from a bottle. It's let's calm it all down. Let's slow down. Let's not get activated in our nervous system. Let's just see this for what it is. I am a mother attending to my child's needs. I listen to her cues and I follow that. And I was telling everybody, follow what works for you. Anything that works from the heart, that flow of heart and love and bonding, do that. Not this ridiculousness that they are trying to fit us into an agenda and a narrative that is not ours. That is not the maternal voice. So that is what I had to do. I had to stand very, very strong. And I learned a lot, Samsara, about the media and how complicit they are with governments to create an idea about this subject of breastfeeding that would be opposed or against anything that they were trying to put out into the world in relation to, you know, bottle feeding formula. And I said, it's not us and them. I said, those wars that you are trying to create, division between mothers, doesn't exist in our lives, on our day-to-day living. Right. If I'm sitting with a mother who's bottle feeding her baby, I'm not ostracizing her. We're just sitting in the circle of womanhood and feeding our babies in a gentle and calm way. It's you that creates this instability and fear. And the same thing goes for birth.
You're so right. At the end of the day, you know, that calm and people just deciding what needs to be for their families. Yes. Some families will breastfeed. Some people will. There's occasions when formula is the thing that the family needs to do. People milk share, getting milk from milk banks or sharing with other lactating parents. And it's just people feeding their children. Why is there so much drama and trauma and shame around something that should just be so basic and so pure and so good?
That's it. That's it. And we have to, as mothers, and this is the strong voice that I have in the world, whether it's in birthing or breastfeeding, is we have to claim and own that voice and the way that we choose to do these things without getting that external fear that takes us and distracts us from that inner knowledge and knowing, that mammalian blueprint. We have to not take on that shame that is not ours. And we work a lot of that in my Embody Birth program for birth. We talk a lot about imposed fear and innate fear. What is the difference? Because you can have some innate fear. That's for breastfeeding. How am I going to feed my baby? Will I have enough milk? You know, how will my body open for birth? These are innate fears or questions or, you know, curious openings and gateways into excavation, and they are perfectly normal. But when we have externalized fears that are suffocating our own innate fears that take precedence over this excavation, we can get stuck in their limitation. So we need to, when we walk this path, really take that deep dive into what is this journey? What is my intention on this journey? Become
okay, now my friend is stuck. So let's see if she gets unstuck.
No.
Okay, so we lost you for a few minutes. We lost the last couple of minutes of what you were saying. So if you could say it again.
Yeah, sure. So I was saying, we as mothers, we carry the jewels of consciousness in our bodies through these experiences, and we need to value ourselves. We need to value our voice. We need to value these gifts of consciousness and give them to the world confidently and strongly, without justification, without having to defend ourselves. Who do you have to defend yourself to? This is a relationship between you, your baby, your partner, if you have one, your family, your community. That's what matters, to build strong community, to build strong families. So nobody can penetrate from the external fear into my self-referenced voice of truth. That's what I fight for. That's what I fight for.
I absolutely support that. And I really, you know, if I had a magic wand, you know, I would, for folks who are choosing to breastfeed their children, to give them that confidence, as I do as a doula when someone's giving birth, the confidence that you can do this.
Yes.
It is not, you know, this unfathomable thing that requires you to read 20 books and maybe one book. That's, you know, but it shouldn't. If we were living more authentically as humans, we would have all seen this beautiful thing in our lives. And we would have seen babies nourished at the breast or body of their parents, and it wouldn't be such a BFD. It's
right.
complicated for two reasons: because we don't see breastfeeding, and two, our births are so medicated that the poor little baby that, you know, is seeing 3 nipples and trying to figure out which one it should attach to.
Crazy.
And then being blamed for having a bad latch. You know?
That's right.
So everything's a diagnosis and treatment.
Yes, because we see the body as an illness, as a pathology. And that's what I was saying before about the default being what's not possible. And that not possible is where the interference grows. Because if we don't trust and we don't believe as birth professionals, then we're going to have that position that I have to interfere somehow and I'm going to save the mother. And we say in embodied birth, a mother doesn't need to be saved. She needs to be loved. If we understand the way in which milk flows, the way the body opens, that is through the portal of love. We know that, the portal of oxytocin. Care, respect, listening, patience, slowing down, everything that we do, the opposite of these things. So we are coming back to the basics, the fundamentals of understanding the body and the female body, the womb, wisdom, the body of the womb. Yeah, what does that require in order for these things to flow as nature intends? Are we supporting that? And how do we support that? And we have to also take a look at ourselves as birth keepers. And we do a lot of that in embodied birth. How do I navigate myself in the world? How do I navigate the feminine or the female aspect or my womb wisdom in the world? How do I integrate the masculine aspects in the world? And I see that as I am anchored, but I flow around that anchor like the milk, as I said, flows, like the oxytocin flows.
Yes.
It is all one beautiful journey when we are loved and supported. And that's what I hope. You know, I'm 60 next year. I've been at this for 25 years. If we can come to that loving foundational place where all voices are valid and valuable and important on these rites of passages, this is what we need more than ever.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared. And I feel like we should close up now and move on with, I processed this video that will be part of the Greater Festival on Sunday, and I will send you a copy. We're going to tape that too because it will be on Zoom, and I'll send you the whole thing so you can see how you fit into the beautiful whole of the event. Thank you for making this time to speak to me from Australia, a place that I really would love to visit one day when things are hopefully more, when things get a little less crazy and about traveling. I'll be very happy to come and see. How would you like to close? What would you like to leave us with?
Well, I was going to say before, Samsara, when you said about reading the book, and we say in embodied birth, and this is a beautiful way to close, is that the living book is within. Read it. Yeah. This is the first port of call. That book that is already living inside yourself, and you are writing the new chapters to that book.
Exactly.
Yeah? And we pass that to our children. That is the legacy. And so they move forward from that. So the living book is within. Read her. Yeah.
That is a beautiful way to close. Well, I thank you so much, my friend. I'm so happy to have gotten to finally see you kind of sort of in person.
No, beautiful.
And with blessings on your family and your work. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
See you on Facebook.
Yeah, see you on Facebook. Instagram, I'm under Maha Musa too. You can get in touch with me and anything, anytime. I'm happy to talk to people.
Do you have a website, my dear? Say your website.
Yes, it's mahaalmusa.com. MAHAALMUSA.com. And I've got lots of resources. I do counseling. I'm doing an online embody birth training, lots of things. So please get in touch. Yeah.
All right, my dear. See you well.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye. Mama.